Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. It has been a week since two members of San Diego's congressional delegation tried to enter an ICE detention facility in downtown San Diego and were denied entry. Well, this morning they were back with two more members of the delegation. KPBS reporter John Carroll was there.
Representatives Scott Peters, Sarah Jacobs, Juan Vargas, and Mike Levin exiting the Edward J. Schwartz Federal Courthouse Monday morning. Peters and Vargas say last week ICE told them they had to wait a week, and now, a week later, the same result.
We've met their notice request, but they've said that until the folks in Washington approve this, they're not going to allow us to visit and observe for ourselves.
Peters says he and his colleagues were told the government shutdown was to blame, but the government was already shut down last week when they were told about the 7-day waiting period. And he says not only are members of Congress getting paid during the shutdown, so are the ICE staff who work here. Representative Vargas says he's hearing of poor conditions in the basement facility.
We've had reports in my office that people have less than sanitary conditions down there, that people are staying beyond the time they're supposed to stay, so you're only supposed to be there for 12 hours.
Instead, Vargas says people have been kept up to 3 days and perhaps up to a week. Last week, a woman who said her niece was being held here told our media partner 10 News that the conditions in the basement were unsanitary with only one restroom. The person said people were given cold burritos to eat and that it was very difficult to contact family or lawyers.
Oversight isn't just part of our job. It is our constitutional duty dictated by the Constitution.
And all of the representatives say not only is it illegal to turn them away from conducting oversight, they say they have the right to show up unannounced.
This is my notice. That's my notice. I'm a member of the United States House of Representatives, duly elected by the people of this community to conduct oversight, and that's what we're going to do.
We reached out to ICE by phone and email for a response. They acknowledged our request, but did not respond by our deadline. I asked the delegation about next steps, and they all agreed that that's not clear at this point. But one thing is for certain, whether it's during the shutdown or after, they all say they'll be back. From downtown, John Carroll, KPBS News.
The Navy is investigating two aircraft crashes from the same carrier that happened within half an hour of each other. A San Diego-based Seahawk helicopter assigned to the Nimitz crashed in the South China Sea yesterday. Its 3 crew members were recovered safely. Then an FA-18 Super Hornet, also assigned to the Nimitz, crashed during routine operations. Both people aboard were able to eject safely and were rescued. Tonight, the La Mesa Police Department is holding a candlelight vigil for an officer who was fatally struck by a car last week. Officer Lauren Craven had stopped to help a driver at the scene of a crash on I-8 in the College area. Tomorrow morning, more than 700 law enforcement vehicles are expected to join Craven's funeral procession. The motorcade is expected to leave at 7:30 from Snapdragon Stadium in Mission Valley and travel to Skyline Church in La Mesa.
Weather headlines here as we head throughout the next couple of days. Overall, I am tracking a sunny and mild weather pattern here as we head throughout the next couple of days. So overall, great weather as we head throughout this week. The weekend's looking pretty nice as well. I'm also tracking for some a big warming trend. I'll have an updated look at that extended forecast coming up.
San Diego has increasingly turned to parking meters to help fund infrastructure repairs. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the City Council is tightening the rules on how meter revenue is spent.
For every dollar you feed into a parking meter in San Diego, about 15 cents goes to something called a parking district. The city has 7 parking districts, although only 4 of them actually have parking meters. Most are run by business groups, and recent audits have raised questions about their usefulness. They tend to spend a lot of money on staff and administration. There are even examples of missing invoices and inflated payments to contractors. The city council on Monday voted to transfer the parking district's budgets to the city's transportation department for a 2-year trial period. Several representatives from parking districts supported the action reluctantly.
Uptown parking meter money is required by law to be spent in Uptown, but our community hasn't seen it. Uptown must receive tangible community improvements above and beyond what is provided outside parking meter districts.
The city's transportation department says it can spend meter revenue more efficiently than parking districts and will spend it on higher priority projects like fixing sidewalks and streetlights.
By pausing, not eliminating, by pausing the community parking district program for 2 years and letting the city manage the parking revenue for 2 years, we are giving the city an opportunity to prove that it can quickly deliver improvements to neighborhoods with parking meters while ensuring that it also reflects community priorities.
City electricians are now set to work overtime as soon as this evening to fix broken streetlights near parking meters. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Today, the council is also deciding on the future use of a large sports park near Del Mar. The site is at the center of a pair of lawsuits. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer joins us from the newsroom to explain it.
Hi, Maya. Today's council vote and the lawsuits are connected to a 1983 grant deed. It turned the land over to the city of San Diego with some conditions, and that's at the center of the debate. Surf Cup Sports leases this land from the city of San Diego to host large-scale soccer tournaments and other events.
Our opinion is very clear. The economic benefit and the benefit to the youth outweigh those things that may be in the opposition's favor.
The opposition includes a homeowners association that filed a lawsuit 2 years ago, alleging Surf Cup is using the park beyond the 25 days a year that's allowed in the grant deed. But that lawsuit has been stayed as the San Diego City Council weighs in on whether or not to terminate the grant deed restrictions, a move opposed by more than just the homeowners association.
Keeping it to 25 days, and that is all that we want.
Jeff Carmel has lived next to the fields for decades. He says the cities of Solana Beach and Del Mar and State Senator Catherine Blakespear are among those who have written letters opposing the termination of the grant deed.
Stick to the contract that you agreed to. Don't change the rules in the middle of the game to suit your business plan, which is what Surf is trying to do with the city going right along with it.
Surf Sports says they collected over 1,500 letters from community members to support terminating the grant deed.
The city's proposal provides clear and enforceable parameters for how this property can be used while allowing Surf to continue operating our youth sports program as we have for many years.
The city's lease with Surf Cup Sports lasts through 2044. The city council is also considering an amendment to the lease which would allow for large events up to 40 days a year. Another lawsuit regarding oversight of the property is still moving through the courts. Reporting from the newsroom, Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
The cheapest housing option in San Diego has long been dorm-style rooms, but they're rapidly disappearing, and the city can't seem to turn that around. In this 2-part feature, KPBS reporter Katie Hyson looks at why and why it matters.
A saying hangs on the wall of Calvin Neal's room at the Hotel Churchill downtown.
I have done things that haunt me at night so you can sleep in peace.
It's one of the few remaining single-room occupancies, or SROs, in San Diego.
And I will live by the oath until the day I die, because I am and always will be a U.S. veteran.
Incense fills the small room that contains his entire life.
That's my Kuwait book. I got it when I was in Panama.
Neal was a combat medic in the military. He tried to find work in hospitals after he returned home, but couldn't. He worked security jobs instead, until he was laid off. He missed a paycheck and that month's rent. An eviction notice appeared on his door. He spent the next 3 years homeless. He uses the same 2 words to describe his time in the Gulf War as his time on San Diego's streets.
not good. Yeah, the ground was terrible. The bugs were terrible. But you know, what got me the most is how people would just walk past you. You know, it's like they don't see you. Or if they do see you, they don't care. And it really bothered me. You know, how could I go from serving the country to here, and why doesn't anyone care about it?
Neil says because he fought in a war, he was fast-tracked for a veteran housing voucher and placed in this building when it opened. The city already owned the World War I-era hotel. 9 years ago, they renovated it into affordable SROs. On the scale of SROs in San Diego, the Hotel Churchill is the Ritz. It's got private bathrooms and kitchens, communal spaces, and on-site social services. The units are for veterans, transitioning foster youth, and recently incarcerated people. A typical SRO is like a dorm room. Tenants often share a bathroom or kitchen down the hall. The average size in San Diego is 200 square feet, like a one-car garage. They can be poorly managed. Because of those downsides, SRO rent is usually the lowest in the market. At the Churchill, it's less than $1,000 a month. And there are usually less barriers to renting them. No credit checks or security deposits. They are the most accessible housing in one of the most expensive markets in the country. When Neil moved into his SRO, he most looked forward to resting.
I wanted to lay down on a bed. It felt really good, you know, and alone, you know.
He says it offers peace that was impossible to find in the streets or in shelters.
Away from the turmoil and all of that, you know, and it's just good to have somewhere to be, you know. I can go out into the world, have a bad day, come in here, and I'm fine after a while.
He could set down things he'd been literally carrying on his back for years. Put his books on a shelf. Hang family photos on the wall. He could lock his door, run clean water, and play music to keep his spirits up.
I think about my mom all the time because we used to get up in the morning and play music on Saturdays, and I do that here.
He says he can think better here. Unpack his past?
My kids, my family, military stuff. That always stays in my brain for some reason.
And plan for the future. On the fridge is an oath he swore to himself when he was homeless.
Through my deeds, I will take control of my life and be the best man I can possibly be to myself and others.
Neil does good deeds in the community that's forming between tenants here.
I help them clean their apartments, you know, take out the trash, go run errands for them, which that's really makes me feel good. It helps me out too.
For the tenants lucky enough to get placed in them, SROs can be life-changing. Neil looks out the window of his SRO and across the street, where a new luxury condo high-rise is being built. One condo is selling for just under $2 million. The building will have a pet spa. On the sidewalk below Neil's window, homeless San Diegans figure out how to survive the day. Neil says living in this SRO, he feels something like survivor's guilt.
I think sometimes that if I would rather somebody out there got this, I think I would probably be willing to be homeless again if I could do that.
San Diego's homeless population has soared over recent decades. But as the need for SROs increased, the units continued to vanish. We'll look into why in part 2 tomorrow. Katie Heisen, KPBS News.
A North County nonprofit has a fund set up to help people in San Diego County who've been impacted by federal funding cuts. It's called People for People. Interfaith Community Services says the fund is meant to help those impacted by cuts to immigration services, rental assistance programs, food assistance programs, and more.
We've already experienced cuts to mental health programs, cuts to addiction treatment programs. This People for People Fund is about getting ahead of additional cuts that are most likely coming, and most importantly, just opening up more safety net services, access to food, housing, and health care.
Interfaith Community Services told our media partner KGTV that the fund will have up to a $1 million match from Price Philanthropies. October is National Liver and Liver Cancer Awareness Month. More than 100 million people in the United States have some form of liver disease. As Michael Yoshida reports, the need for transplants is on the rise.
I was literally within a week or two of mortality.
Bill Houston is one of hundreds of thousands of Americans who have had a liver transplant.
But in early 2019 is when the physical symptoms of liver issues started to show up. And it really was a 6 to 8 month process of a rapid decline.
Tens of millions in the U.S. suffer from some form of liver disease, with many not knowing. The disease can be caused by a variety of things, including infections, lifestyle choices such as long-term alcohol use, genetics, and autoimmune disorders.
There are 9,300 people waiting for liver transplants right now. Tragically, 25% of those people are going to die waiting.
To help address the shortage, the American Liver Foundation has launched the Living Donor Network. Most transplants come from those who have passed away, with living donors often knowing the person their liver will go to. But this new initiative creates a database to connect people who wish to donate part of their liver to someone they don't know, with transplant centers nationwide.
Help someone in need, giving this gift of life. It's the first of its kind. It's never been created before.
As for Bill, after decades of suffering from alcohol use disorder that led to his needing a transplant, he's now an advocate, working to help and educate others dealing with substance abuse and the impacts of liver disease.
We're losing too many people. There's no reason not to save all of us.
In Washington, Michael Yoshida.
Fall in Tijuana is a special time. KPBS video journalist Matthew Bowler was given exclusive access to one of Tijuana's seasonal treasures, the Dia de Muertos ofrenda at Mercado Hidalgo.
It was a breezy October day in Tijuana. The papel picado danced in the wind. It is Dia de los Muertos, and in Mercado Hidalgo, the altar, or ofrenda, welcomes shoppers. Marta Isabel Estrada Ramirez says that on October 15th, 1955, her grandfather helped to found Mercado Hidalgo. And for 70 years, traditional Mexican offerings have delighted customers. And this is the time of year to honor those who have passed on.
Se procura que solamente sean miembros del mercado, socios. Y para el día 2 de noviembre lo celebramos con misa, con una danza prehispánica.
For about 25 years, the shopkeepers have built a Dia de los Muertos ofrenda. It started small, but it has grown to fill the gazebo in the center of their large parking lot. Estrada says this is a celebration of life through the acknowledgement of death.
No le estamos rezando a la muerte. Estamos pidiendo porque nuestros difuntos estén en paz, estén tranquilos. Es la esperanza de que ese día vengan. Y hay una frase que tenemos mucho aquí en México, porque solo se van cuando no lo recordamos.
As a third-generation shopkeeper at Mercado Hidalgo, Estrada says the ofrenda reminds her how hard her grandfather worked to create a business that still supports her family 70 years later.
Es con amor, es recordar con amor lo que nos dejaron, sus enseñanzas. Por ejemplo, aquí en el mercado, pues que nos dejaron una fuente de trabajo porque todos ellos contribuyeron a que nosotros sigamos trabajando aquí en el mercado, porque muchos dejaron su juventud, su tiempo, su vejez, forjando lo que hoy es el Mercado Hidalgo.
Across Mexico and here in our border region, Dia de los Muertos ofrendas honor loved ones who have died, a tradition that continues to grow in popularity worldwide. Mercado Hidalgo's altar will be up through November 3rd. In Tijuana, Matthew Bowler, KPBS News.
KPBS is hosting a digital community ofrenda or altar in honor of Dia de Muertos. People from our community have submitted over 400 heartfelt remembrances of family members and friends, along with photos, videos, and audio clips. And we invite you to view the interactive altar and see all of the stories by going to kpbs.org/Day of the Dead. And if you'd like, you can still submit a memory for a loved one who has passed on.
The forecast pattern here for the next couple of days is going to remain relatively consistent. We're going to be tracking warmer conditions here from Southern California, the desert Southwest, even into the southern plains. South Texas will even see temperatures in the triple digits heading into Tuesday afternoon. Before tonight, overnight lows will be mild for this time of year, dipping into the mid-50s. There will be some coastal cloud coverage, but overall that won't last until about midday. But overall, you can see for tonight, along the coastal areas mainly, temperatures in the 50s, low 50s there for Oceanside and Camp Pendleton. So it'll be a mild start here for your early Tuesday morning. And future track radar is showing 6 a.m., some cloud coverage in the forecast, but overall it's going to remain relatively clear here as we head throughout a majority of the day. Take a look at this. Nothing but sunshine here across the majority of the region. A very calm forecast here across Southern California especially. Now there will be some rain chances, but those are going to be well to the north here as we head throughout the next couple of days. So for your Tuesday, a dry and warm forecast here will continue to dominate the weather headlines. Temperature-wise here for your forecast for Tuesday, primarily 70s across the coast, some 80s there along the interior, 86 for Escondido. That's going to be pretty nice. By the midweek forecast, we'll start to see more rain chances well off to the east, but yes, across the south and the southwest, yeah, it's going to be that warming trend that will continue to dominate the weather headlines. Temperature-wise here across Southern California as we head into your Wednesday, very nice, very mild, even very warm. So that warm-up I was talking about will start to move in for some areas. We'll see temperatures back in the 80s there along the coast on Wednesday. For the inland forecast, look at that. On Wednesday, we'll see highs in the mid-90s. That's definitely going to be a big old warm up. And then across the mountains, a very mild forecast for this time of year. The only thing that really stands out is that dip into the 30s there early on Friday morning. And then across the desert, we are staying in the 90s as we head throughout this week, even 90s heading into the weekend.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, President Trump stops in Japan as part of his multi-country trip to Asia focused on trade. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Today marks the beginning of Bat Week, an international celebration of the flying mammals and their importance. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando visited the San Diego Zoo Safari Park to get some bat facts.
Bats get a bad rap. Maybe it's Bram Stoker's fault for linking them to vampires. But Marco Wendt, wildlife ambassador for the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance, points out that out of about 1,400 bat species, only 3 feed on blood.
Most bats are insectivores. They eat insects like mosquitoes, as an example, but many are pollinators, eating fruit and nectar from a lot of the plant species found around the world.
These bats are vital for pollinating flowers and spreading seeds. Donna Kent works with bats at the Safari Park, and she'd like to dispel a common myth.
Yeah, so many myths. So a bat is not going to fly in your hair unless it's a 6-foot-tall bouffant loaded with hairspray, and there are moths in your hair. So many misconceptions, and what we fear we usually don't like, and what we don't know we don't like. So the more you know, the better.
And Kent knows a lot about the Rodriguez Island fruit bats she spends her days with.
They're only found on Rodriguez Island, which is in the Mauritius Island complex in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
Rodriguez Island fruit bats are from a tropical habitat, so the exhibit is warm and humid to keep them happy. They're also an endangered species.
Back in 1979, they were virtually wiped off the island. Only 70 of those bats remained after a tropical cyclone went through. But conservationists thought ahead, brought some of those bats into a breeding situation, which we are part of. So again, today the numbers are at least 20,000, but in the grand scheme of things, that's nothing.
Kent has a daily routine with the bats, whose personalities she's come to know.
We do a head count to make sure everyone is all right and healthy and hanging upside down like they should be. We then clean up. So when a fruit bat eats fruit, it's different than us humans. We chew and swallow. A fruit bat chews, they extract all of the juice and fluid, and then they spit out the fiber. So we clean up little bat pancake patties of fiber all over the ground. Then it's time to prep their diet. They get a fancy fruit salad.
When Kent puts out the fruit skewers, the sleepy bats can show their agility.
And bats are in the order Chiroptera. Chiro referring to hand and ptera wings, so they are the hand-winged mammals. Favorite fact about a bat is bats are the only flying mammal. Everyone says, no, there's flying squirrels, there are gliders and such. They glide, they do not flap. Bats are the only flapping, truly flying mammal.
In addition to the Rodriguez bats, the safari park also provides a refuge for native bat species, says Ollie Zerbel, wildlife care supervisor.
Here at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, we do a lot of incredible work with bats. We've got over 20 bat boxes on the property, and the bats are going to live in them during the day. They're going to zoom out at night, go hunt some bugs, and then fly back in for the protection the next morning.
The bats also enjoy the park's Baja Gardens.
We have a lot of native bat species that have often used this as a food source and help pollinate a lot of the plants, like the Mexican long-tongued bat, which is an infamous bat known for pollinating a very special plant known as the agave. And if your listeners are not aware, the agave plant is where we get our wonderful tequila and mezcal. So big kudos for the Mexican long-tongued bat.
Visitors can stop by the safari park this week or anytime to learn more about these amazing but often misunderstood flying mammals.
Here at the Safari Park at the Bat Exhibit, I'm Beth Accomando for KPBS News.
Very cool, Beth. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Enjoy your evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.